Everyone, at some point or age, has read Dr. Seuss. To open one of his books is to step into an impossibly vivid world of creativity. This video has gathered the 22 best Dr. Seuss books for anyone simply wants his biggest hits. Number 1. The Foot Book. Wet foot, dry foot, low foot, high foot. Who knew that there were so many different kinds of feet, or that a whole book as charming and amusing as the Foot Book could be written on the subject? Dr. Seuss rhyming is on point in this book that was meant for the earliest of readers, as are his quirky illustrations. Best of all, it's on a topic that all children are sure to understand: feet. Number 2. Mr. Brown Can Moo. Can you? Another selection for bookworms to be. Dr. Seuss takes early readers through the wonderful world of onomatopoeia the only way that he knows how: whimsically. If you're a parent who's reading out loud to your kids, be prepared to make a lot of different sound effects. That's because, from blurp blurp and dop 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 to buzz, this book will cover all of the noises that you know, and even some that you don't. Number 3. There's a Wocket in My Pocket. Spoiler alert. There's not only a Wocket in your pocket, but also a Geeling on the ceiling and a Zelf on your shelf. The only way to find out where exactly the rest of these mysterious creatures lurk is by reading this delightful picture book out loud. Imaginative children will particularly like this introduction to the wonderfully odd creatures that fill Dr. Seuss's pages. Number 4. Hop on Pop. Full of classic Dr. Seuss rhymes, Hop on Pop is a fun little book that children will love to hear out loud. Playing with similar-looking words, this book also functions as a great learning tool for getting children to think about the importance of individual letters in determining the meaning of every word. Apologies for any hopping caused. Number 5. The Cat in the Hat. What do you get when you put 2 bored kids and a talking cat in an unsupervised house? Well, a really wacky afternoon of fun for one. The Cat in the Hat is perhaps one of Seuss' most magical books, and he even admitted that it's a personal favorite, saying, "It is the book I'm proudest of because it had something to do with the death of the Dick and Jane primers. Take it from us. No childhood is complete without a visit from the Cat in the Hat, Thing 1 and Thing 2. Number 6. The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. Didn't get enough of the Cat in the Hat the first time around? Good, because it's just as the tin says. The Cat in the Hat comes back in an epic sequel. This time, he's up to no good by bringing in a big pink stain with him when he invites himself into Dick and Sally's home and bathes in their bath. Just how will Dick and Sally manage to clean up the mess before the parents get home? If you're up for more trouble, more fun, more problems, and many more cats, this is your book. Number 7. Green Eggs and Ham. One of the most iconic children's books ever was the outcome of a wager between Seuss and Bennett Cerf, the co-founder of Random House. The latter bet that Seuss couldn't write a book using only 50 unique words or fewer. Thusly was Green Eggs and Ham born. A story in which the narrator seriously does not like green eggs and ham. And even though the narrator would not in a tree, you might just find that children could and would read this charming book all the time. You'll see. Number 8. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. What are you doing not giving this book a wish? J and K are the stars of this story, along with their pets, who are, as you might expect, mostly fish. The simple rhymes are enormously catchy, and we make no guarantee that they won't get stuck in your head for hours on end. Great for beginners and children who love pets. Number 9. Dr. Seuss's ABC. Dr. Seuss pulls off one more impressive magic trick with this book. He shows that the alphabet can be fun. He whips out all of the wonderful tricks and talents in his hat to accomplish this feat, including the invention of new words. Case in point, zizzer zazzer zuzz, So if you're in the middle of teaching a kid the alphabet, or simply craving some good alliteration, look no further than Dr. Seuss's ABC. Number 10. Fox in Socks. Per the note that comes with this book, this is a book you read aloud to find out just how smart your tongue is. The first time you read it, don't go fast. This fox is a tricky fox. He'll try to get your tongue in trouble. We heed this warning seriously, because some of the tongue twisters in this book have tangled our tongues in two. This is the go-to book for kids to practice pronunciation, for a reason. Number 11. Oh, the thinks you can think. As we all know, there's no limits when it comes to the bounds of a child's imagination. And yet Dr. Seuss still manages to push boundaries in this whimsical book that gallops along with no plot and plenty of silliness, complete with little monsters that are even more imaginative than usual, and made-up words that encourage children to interpret themselves. This is a worthy tribute to the power of imagination. Number 12. My Book About Me by Me Myself. As you can probably guess, me is a prominent character in this book. Its title is extremely literal. My Book About Me by Me Myself is an activity book that encourages children to write or draw their own biography. A task might include anything from draw a self-portrait to get your mailman's signature. Suffice to say, it's still filled with Dr. Seuss' stalwart spirit of fun. Bonus, it could even make a great interactive activity for the whole family. Number 13. Horton Hatches the Egg. One day, Dr. Seuss came back home and found that the wind had fortuitously blown the papers on his desk into such a position that it looked like an elephant sitting in a tree. The end result was Horton Hatches the Egg, one of Dr. Seuss's most popular books. Containing one of Seuss's most delightful plots, it tells the story of Horton, every kid's favorite elephant, helping his friend Maisie the bird out by sitting on her egg while she takes a break. Of course, Maisie's break turns into a permanent retirement plan in Palm Beach, which means that Horton is stuck hatching the egg and having adventures of his own. Number 14. Horton Hears a Who. One of the staples in Dr. Seuss' massive list of children's book masterpieces, our friend Horton the elephant is back, and this time he seems to hear a cry of help coming from a very, very tiny speck of dust. But he's in a spot of trouble. No one else can hear the cry, and thus no one believes Horton when he says that the Whos need help. This heartwarming story is beautifully communicated and deserves its place amongst most kids' catalog of all-time favorite books. Number 15. The Butter Battle Book. Beyond the sounds, rhymes, and illustration, quite a few of Dr. Seuss books are highly moralistic and deal with serious subject matters. This is one of them. On one side of the war in this book, there are the Yuks, and on the other, the Zooks, and they're waging battle over whether or not to eat their bread with the butter side up or butter side down. But the fight between them soon escalates into an arms race, which is when Seuss gets serious about nuclear war and weapons of mass destruction. Number 16. Dr. Seuss's Sleep Book. Warning: you should probably read this book in bed, as it's nigh impossible not to yawn while flipping through its pages. Case in point, we yawn just thinking about it. As for what it's about, no one really knows because all readers are asleep by page 3. Just kidding. The Sleep Book is actually the story of a very small bug named Van Vleck and the menace of contagious yawns. But the main thrust of this book is to put kids to sleep, and to that end, we'd say that Dr. Seuss succeeded magnificently. Number 17. Thidwick the Big-Hearted Moose. Meet Thidwick, Dr. Seuss' most lovable moose. Except that Thidwick has a tiny flaw. He's far, far too generous. First it's a bingle bug who comes and asks for a ride on his antlers, and then it's a tree spider, a zin a zoo bird, an entire squirrel family. When will Thidwick be able to rest? Perhaps when he learns to be kind to himself first and foremost, which is what this lovely book, one of Dr. Seuss' finest, teaches children of all ages. Number 18. Horton and the Quaggerbug and More Lost Stories. If you can't get enough of Horton and Friends, pick up this short story collection to save the day. Horton and the Quaggerbug and More Lost Stories is a collection of 4 stories that weren't published until after Dr. Seuss died in 1991. What's even better is that it's not only Horton who makes a return. Other beloved characters such as Marco from And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street and the Grinch feature in their own stories as well.